Hello everybody, welcome to episode 15 of Sound Design September. Now even though it's September and the summer is almost over, it is still important that you drink enough water. So today we're going to be taking a look at watery sounding synths. So the synth pads that we're going to be taking a look at today is this one over here. And this one, as you can probably hear from the sound design itself, is relying on a lot of resonance. You can also see that in the filter over here. And that is one of the reasons why it gets that nice, like bubbly, watery texture from it. The other reason is because when it comes to the sound itself, it is really short and it's really kind of the space that is being filled up in between that is causing the watery effect. So that is what we're going to be taking a look at today. Now, as you can see, this patch itself is really simple. We just have a triangle waveform going through this bandpass filter over here with, again, a lot of resonance. And then we have this very short envelope on the pitch over here. And as you can see, this is modulating the pitch up by 4 octaves. So this is quite a strong modulation, but it is a very short one. And the reason for that is essentially what we want to do is we want to get these harmonic through wherever this filter is over here. That is also one of the reasons why I went for a triangle wave and not just a sine wave, so that we have a few extra harmonics that have the potential of actually going through this filter and being really resonated by this resonance over here. We aren't yet in the territory where this filter is going to start self-oscillating. So we definitely need some frequencies to trigger this filter and really get kind of this tone out of the filter. And of course, that then starts ringing and gets extended a little bit. But you can see with a decay over here of just 38 seconds and the gate over here with the arpeggiator. So if you look in the arpeggiator over here, we can see a gate of 22% as well, meaning that we get very short MIDI notes. The sound itself that is being played is actually very short. And that means that also the resonating isn't actually going to cover the whole note up until the next note is being played. So that is where the effects come in, and really the effects is what make this sound unique. If I turn off the chorus and the reverb, you'll hear that this sounds very dull. It of course still has that very clicky texture to it, but it just sounds like in your face. And in order for it to sound watery and really get that kind of wash feeling, that is what we need to do with the chorus as well as the reverb. So the chorus over here is the first kind of stage of washing out the sound. Now the chorus inside of Vital, I find it a little bit more extreme. That is why I've set the mix a little bit lower than I would usually do on a chorus. I do have the multiband, so that is going to bring out a lot of the details in the sound, including the effect of the chorus. And then we have this low shelf filter over here to make sure that it's mainly in the high frequencies where they get that effect, so that we don't get like nasty mid-ranges. If I remove this, you can hear that sometimes we get like a nasty click from it. So this shelf really is there to just remove kind of the low-mid knocking effect that you sometimes hear around this area in the frequency spectrum. And then of course we have our delay and our reverb. The final thing that I should probably not skip over if you want to recreate this patch from scratch is the modulation on the filter. That is just being done with this random over here, which is generating a random value for every note that we trigger. And again, the arpeggiator is making sure that we're playing 16 notes. In terms of the MIDI, it is very simple. We just trigger one note, not like the synth that we saw yesterday where you have to trigger all of the notes. So really, this is one of the more simpler sounds that we're going to be looking at in this series, but it is a very effective sound, and it's not a sound that I hear often, even though, as you can hear, with the atmosphere that we have, for example, in this track, and even some of the other sounds that we have in this example project, it is a very nice sound. By the way, the challenge for you guys to comment how this atmosphere was made still stands. So if you have an idea on how this was made, you can have a little guessing game in the comments down below. But now let's get into creating a patch from scratch with these sound design ideas. So in this case, I want to do it in Serum, and I want to show you that all that really matters is that we get like a click out of it. So one of the things that we could do is use one of these custom attacks here. We're just going to set it to one-shot mode and then level all the way up. And what we'll hear is that we just get the nice click. I want to get one that, of course, covers the whole frequency range. And now what we can do is we can just add our bandpass filter. Go through the noise oscillator, resonance almost all the way up. And now what we'll do is we'll assign a note on random 1 here. Of course, this is still sounding very boring, so let's spice it up a little bit with, in this case, the hyper dimension here. I really like the dimension on these kind of sounds, and I like it to have a little bit of size so that it comes in like slightly delayed. That just gives the sound a little bit of extra texture towards the tail. I am going to probably turn the mix down a little bit more because I don't want this effect to overpower the actual sound. And then we can add our chorus. Now in this case, I'm going to set the chorus up in a way that it covers all of the frequencies. So we do that by clicking over here to turn it into a high pass filter. And then we can just go frequency all the way down. As you can hear, the chorus inside of Serum with the amount of depth. And if we turn up the feedback quite a bit, we get a different kind of tonality out of it. We get this kind of repeating idea. So we don't want that. We just want it to be like a short depth, still a little bit of high feedback. Something like that. And now we can already hear the wetness coming in this sound. Of course, the reverb is also going to help there. Something like that sounds cool. And then the final thing that I want to do is, again, just have a shelf over here so that we scoop out that mid-range that we don't really want. Just like this, maybe. And we'll finish that up with a delay, 1/8 on both of them, and then dotted. And then again, to trigger a sound like this, we're going to add our MIDI, and we're going to add an arpeggiator here. And now we have something that sounds like this. Now, both of these patches are going to be available up on my Patreon page, but seeing as I've only been recording for like 12 minutes now, I think I want to do a little bit more by showing you a different technique. Now, this is going to be completely different from everything that we have seen up until this point, in the sense that it's not going to focus on the sound that we've been currently making. What we're instead going to do is we're going to create an audio track and record one pass of this sound here. In this case, we're going to record the first one here. Let's go like this. Of course, you need to make sure that that's soloed. And the reason why we want such a long audio file here, in this case we're recording 16 bars, is because we want to basically get every combination of delays possible. As you can imagine, there's a delay on the sound, so multiple clicks are going to line up. You can imagine that for every 16 note in the dry signal, there's going to be a click, but there's also going to be a lot of residue of the different clicks that happened before it, that are just being made by the delay. So I basically want all of those combinations together. So in this case, we just have to consolidate this, so this becomes a separate audio file. And then we're going to open up another MIDI track, and we want to use some kind of granular synthesizer. In my case, I'm going to go with Facepad. Because the cool thing that you can do with these kind of sounds is that they work really well for granular synthesis. So let me just crop clip here, and then I should be able to just drag it in here. And now we have a very cool starting off point for granular synthesis. In this case, let's go with the position all the way up here so that it can start at any random position. Already some really cool sounds here. Let's increase the amount of grains and let's up the time a little bit. We make it fade out a little bit longer and no attack. Let's set the panning. Let's set a percentage of reverse here. Can also randomize the pitch a little bit more if we want to. That's already a very cool starting off point for something like an atmosphere. So let's increase the release here massively so that we get like an atmospheric release still here. And now what we can do is we can add a modulation. In this case, we'll go with an envelope. Again, we'll turn up the release so that we get a nice long decay time here for our atmosphere. I'm just going to add a bandpass filter. I will assign this over here. Maybe give it a little bit more attack, both on this here as well as over here. And of course, because this is an atmosphere, we're going to need to add a delay. Let's sync this. We can already see 316 or 1/8 dotted note. We'll set the pen all the way to the right and turn on bounce so that we get a ping pong effect. And then we'll turn up the feedback a little bit. And then we'll also add the reverb. In this case, I'm going to go with Convolver so that we can get a nice big space here. So you can hear we get some really cool detailed atmospheres out of that. Now that's going to be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this. Of course, all 3 of the patches that we saw in today's video are going to be available up on my Patreon page. And that is a great way to support the channel and support what I do here. Another way to support the channel is by watching some more of my content. So I'll leave 2 videos up on the screen for you to choose from. So just pick one and enjoy. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.